Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Salutation to that aspect of God as Lord Ganesha, the one who purifies our thoughts, purify our mind for positiveness. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. I bow to that aspect of God as Mother Saraswati, the one who gave unto us wisdom, so that we can differentiate right from wrong and walk the pathway of righteousness. Om Shri Guru Charana Kamalabhyo Namaha. Salutation to all the gurus, all the teachers who dawn upon us knowledge so that we can become a refined person. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I bow to that aspect of God who incarnate as Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Om Shri Omkaraya Namaha. I bow to that unmanifested aspect of God, Brahman, the formless, unmanifested energy, higher energy of this world. Omkaraya Namaha. Om Shanti 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 Om. May there be peace and peace and peace in our heart, in our mind, internally and externally. May there be peace in our home. May there be peace in our family. May there be peace in the community, in the country, and the entire universe. Universal peace. My humble namaste, my humble sitaram pranam, and good afternoon to each and every one of you. To my Facebook friends and families, salutation to each and every one of you. I bow to each and every one of you. The divinity within me, bow to the divinity within you, with all respect and love. And so today, I want to talk about how flexible is Sanatana Dharma. I have found, and we all know, Sanatana Dharma can be complex, it can be simple. How we make it, how we view it. But whether complex or simple, it is flexible, very flexible. And so, Sanatana Dharma has a wide description, but very briefly, in a nutshell, Sanatana Dharma, Dharma is what we need to do, our duty in life, our way of life. And Sanatan mean eternal. So putting Sanatana Dharma together, it is the way of life that will lead us to eternity. Or Sanatana Dharma, the code, conduct, and ethics of life that is everlasting, that is always there and will be there. So it is the way of life that is eternal. It is the code and conduct and ethics of life which is eternal, which is everlasting, and which will lead man to eternity, which will lead man to moksha, once the conduct, the code of conduct, the ethics, and the laws are being carried out and live by. And so Sanatana Dharma is not for a personal use or a personal benefit. Sanatana Dharma is whatever a person do must be beneficial for himself, his family, his neighbors, and his community. If a person does something and it is not good for his neighbor, then it is not dharma. If someone do something for himself and his neighbor and it is not good for the community, it is not either dharma. So this Sanatana Dharma is something that when you conduct it, when you perform this action, then it is good for you, your family, your neighbors, and the entire community, and the entire world. That is dharma. And once this dharma is carried on in such a way, it leads man to eternity, sanatana. And this is everlasting and eternal. And so I have here a little chart to explain, I hope, my apology. I don't want to confuse no one, because many a times we heard that Sanatana Dharma is confusing. So I want to make it very simple. And many a times, many of us, we mix the two, Sanatana Dharma and Hindus, and we call it a religion. For lack of a word of Sanatana Dharma, we all use the word religion, the Hindu religion. So it is used togetherness. It is used in hand by hand sometime. And so, but Sanatana Dharma is not a religion. We must know this, that Sanatana Dharma is not a religion. It doesn't have a founder. Right? Sanatana Dharma does not have a founder. It doesn't stand. It stands on its own. It doesn't stand on any founder. Neither it doesn't have a messenger. It stands by itself. It has been there from the time of creation. Knowledge has been handed down to the Sapta Rishi, the 7 mind-born rishis of Brahma. And in their mind was already this knowledge, and this knowledge was inspired to the other saints and sages and keep handing down from generation to generation. And as time changed, the knowledge developed. So it's not dogmas, but it is full of inspired knowledge, authentic knowledge that is applicable in each and every ages. This knowledge is applicable in each and every ages, in Satyug, Dwapar, Treta, and even is applicable in Kali Yuga. So there is no need to revise the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma. And the knowledge that is pertained from the time thousands of years ago is pertaining to each and every aspect of life, every age of life, every aspect of life, every situation of life and circumstance of life is being covered by the philosophy, by the code of conducts and ethics under Sanatana Dharma is being covered there. And so it encompasses this universal knowledge. This knowledge is not meant for one set of people, but it is universal knowledge that covers every living entity in the universe, in this world, on earth. And so here, Sanatana Dharma, I'll bring this up closer. And my flow chart is saying Sanatana Dharma / we can say, as we call it, the Hindu religion, for a better word for everyone is saying the Hindu religion, but remind you it is not a religion, it is a way of life. And we believe in what is a higher governing power. Sanatana Dharma believe in a higher force, in a higher cosmic force, a universal force, a higher energy that control and govern this entire cosmos. The entire universe is being governed by this energy that is unseen, energy that is invisible, energy and power. But yet this power is symbolized. We give this power, this higher governing power, higher energy, is being given a symbol, or is called Om. So Om is a name of that invisible power. Om is a name or a symbol for that higher governing power energy of this entire cosmos, the entire universe. And this is the symbol of Om. We all know Om. And this is the Sanskrit of Om. A, O, and Ma, Om. So there is a very great theory about Om. It is said that every person that born, before that person speak the 3 syllables. Every baby, before a baby start to talk, they will pronounce the 3 syllables A, O, and Ma before they start to talk. So it is said that the first syllable a baby will pronounce is A. And if we listen to a young baby, the first song they make, you will hear this, the first song that come will be A. So A. And then the second syllable a child will talk is O. O, O, O. And then the child will call on the mother, Ma. Ma. So the 3 main, there may be other frequency song that comes with A and O, but the main syllable or frequency a child talk, a baby, is A, then O, then the baby will call on Ma. Complete A, O, and Ma, Om. So listen to the babies carefully and pay attention, and you will hear A, O, and Ma. And A, O, and Ma is also said to be a universal sound, a universal energy, the sound of the universe. If we should Google sound of the universe, we will hear the Om song, the vibration of the moving planets or the universe. The planets by themselves move, they circumambulate the sun, but the entire galaxy move. And the song that is being produced from that song, as per NASA testing, as per Google, I'm going by Google, I'm not a scientist, I'm not there, I didn't do any tests. But as per the internet, NASA tests, you can hear the song vibration and a humming, oh, continuous Om vibration song of the universe. That is called the universal song, Om. So, from again, the higher governing power, the higher governing force is symbol by Om, and it's called Om. And that symbol, Om, now have 3 main branches. The saint and the sages divide that Om, that higher energy, into 3 energy, or that higher force into 3 forces. So the first force is called the creating force. That higher force, it has the creating force which creates this universe. And of course, this universe, the way how it operates, and now we look at beautiful pictures and night shot of the cosmos, so beautiful. So beautiful is God's creation when you look at NASA and the scientists' night shot of the cosmos. You can see how beautiful the different colors, the stars and all the outer planets look so beautiful. God's creation is magnificent. And if we think, then we can know that this did not come up by chance. There is a creation. And so, how can the planet from millions of years circumambulate the sun? Millions of years without changing its route. The circumferential route around the sun remains the same. It doesn't change. One planet does not collide into other. For million years, they retain their circulation, their distance away from the sun. They're slowly changing, but mainly for millions of years, they have retained that route around the sun, still going around the sun. These huge masses keep floating in air. Why? And so that is the creating force. And then we have the maintaining force that cause maintenance of this universe. So we have the creating force, the maintaining force that maintain the universe, and then we have the dissolving force or disintegrating force. Everything decays. And for it to decay, there is energy, certain energy that need for decays or dissolving. So at the time of one kalpa, then there is that dissolving force that come into play. And each force is signified by a name. So the creating force is called Brahma, the maintaining force is called Vishnu, and the dissolving force is called Shiva. Intertwined with creation, there is knowledge. In knowledge, in creation is intertwined knowledge. And so that knowledge is represented by Saraswati. She's called the giver of knowledge. Because when we reflect and do introspection, we see within God creation, there is science. God created this universe through science. God is the greatest scientist. Creation is intertwined. When we reflect, we see knowledge. Knowledge is in creation. And in protection, in maintenance, there is progress. And where there is progress, there is wealth. And that is represented by Lakshmi. And when we dissolve, when something is dissolving, disintegrating, then we need to protect that. When the world is dissolving, then the entire creation needed to be protected for the next kalpa. Kalpa means the next creation. And so that is called Durga. So within, we have the creating force. We have Brahma, comes along with Saraswati. Vishnu comes along with Lakshmi. Shiva comes along with Durga. And so, for example, Brahma, Lord Brahma, now that force manifests into a form. And we call that form Brahma. And Brahma is like when we have a contractor. We have a contractor to make a building. So we contact the contractor 1 or 2 times. The contractor come and make the house building, make the building. When that building is finished, then we do not contact or communicate or keep in touch with the contractor. The contractor finishes his job, the contractor move away, and so there is no communication. And so because of that one way how I see it, then we do not pay much attention to Brahma. We do not pay much homage and salutation to Lord Brahma. Like the creator and the contractor. And Vishnu, that maintaining force as Vishnu, manifests into that form that we give to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu maintaining the creation, maintain law and order. And so through the laws of nature. So the maintainer, Bhagwan Shri Vishnu, maintaining law and order through the law of nature. He sets up the rules and regulation, and so through the law of nature, then he maintained the universe, the code and the conduct and law of order of the creation. So he took on different roles at different times. Different roles at different times he took on to maintain this universe. Like he took on the role of Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, Buddha. And so just like the occupant of the house, after the contractor finished the house, the occupant take it over, and the occupant or the house owner maintain the house. And so when we maintain the house, we also take on different role. As a householder, we take on different role of maintaining the house. For example, we put on the garb of a painter. If a little part of the house need to paint, then we will put on the garb of a painter. When we do the gardening in the summer, we put on a different garb or clothing as a gardener. And like snow cleaning, when we do snow cleaning to maintain the yard and clean the snow, we put on a different garb to clean the snow. When we do spray wash the yard, or if you are a mechanic to make something in the house, then we change our clothing accordingly. We put on different garb. So the same way we put on different garb, we take on different roles to maintain our house. We take on the role of a painter, the role of a carpenter, the role of a spray washer, the role of a gardener. Likewise, the Lord take on different role at different times to maintain this universe. And when our house is maintained, we have progress. Any person who have progress, you see into the house and yard, their house is well maintained and well kept, you know there is progress. So progress come along with maintenance. That is why Lakshmi Ma come along with Vishnu. The same way knowledge come along with the creation. We have knowledge. In God creation, there are rules, like gravitational rule, the law of gravity. We have centripetal force, we have centrifugal force, all these different type of forces that hold the planet into space as they spin around the sun. So, and also we have the law of karma. So these are the rules of the science of the knowledge of creation that cause creation to uphold itself, and comes along with this knowledge, comes along Saraswati Ma. And so Bhagwan Shiva, that aspect of God is like us. Like we as the householder, we have to like renovate. When we renovate the house, we remodel the house, we have to break down certain part of the house to rebuild. Many a times to rebuild, you have to break. So, like breaking part of the house down, or breaking, sometimes people buy a house now and they knock the whole house down and they rebuild a new house. And so we normally remodel or renovate our house. So the main thing when we renovate or remodel our house, we still have to protect the property. We want to protect the property. We want to protect our way of doing it with the laws. We have to protect ourselves. And so that protection comes along with Durga. Durga mean making the hardest simple. Durga mean difficult to attain. And that what is very difficult to attain and what become attainable, very easy to attain, is called Durga. So come along with the dissolver is protection, come along with Shiva is Durga. So that is why we have Shiva, Durga, Vishnu, Lakshmi, and Brahma, Saraswati. And I'm just giving it in a little nutshell here. And so we see again, from the higher force, unmanifested force, formless force, symbolized by Om. From that unmanifested Om, or that higher force, we have three forces: creating force, maintaining force, dissolving force, disintegrating force, and each of them assume a form as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And so each one of them is responsible for aspect of this universe. And so now I go on to different aspect of worship. And so we have different aspect of worship. Here comes how simple our system is and how flexible it is. So different aspect of worship. I have here one, worship God as Om. So here we have different options. It's not telling us a strict dogma and rule that there is only one way, but it is telling us we worship God as Om. As this Om, we can stop coming down and just think God as Om and worship God as Om, the unmanifested aspect. So we have the option to worship God as the unmanifested aspect as Om. We can worship God through the forces of creation or the forces through nature. So coming on more, we can worship God through his creating forces. All right? The forces of creation are forces of nature, such as we can worship God as light. Light comes from the sun. So the source of light is the sun. So we can worship God as sun. We can worship God as light. It is said God is light and light is God. And we can worship God as fire, called Agni. We can worship God as the earth. We can worship God as the water. We can worship God in either of his creative force. We can see God in his creation. Why do we have that option? Because the Vedas tells us. For example, fire, Agni, the Rig Vedas tells us a lot. The Rig Vedas tells us a lot about Agni. The first mantra of the Rig Veda, is a mantra for Agni. Om Agni Mile Purohitam Yagyasya Deva Mritvajam Hotarang Ratnadhatamam. And the first section of the Rig Veda see and introduce to us God as Agni, as the fire. That fire, when it is ignite with this sacred Vedic mantra, it becomes sacred. And so God is seen as fire. Fire, Agni, is seen as the mouth of God. Fire is seen as that carrier of our oblations throughout the heavenly abode. Whatever is being offered to that fire, it consumes it and it distributes it in the atmosphere. So it is not meant for one person. For example, if I eat a pepper, it will affect me alone. But if you put a pepper in the Hawankun, in that Agni, it will affect the entire area, the environment, how far that fume goes. So with that Agni, we can worship God as Agni alone. That is one aspect of God as Agni. And make offering of oblation. Om Bhurбhuva Swa Swaha, to you, O God, and it is not for me, for earth. Om Agnaye Swaha, Om Prajapataye Swaha, Idam Prajapataye Idam Namamam. Prajapati, Pati mean father, Praja mean the offspring of this world. You are the offspring of your children on this earth. This offering is for you, it is not for me. And so we do Havan. That is one option and one aspect. And so another aspect, as I said, is Surya Dev. And so let me find very quickly what the Vedas tells us. Why can we worship? Because the Vedas tells us we can worship God as the sun, because sun is referred to God. So another option, we can worship God as sun. And so I have here the Yajurveda Samhita, and I will be reading from Adhyaya 38. Okay, Adhyaya 38, Mantra 24. Mantra 24. Om Udayam Tamasaspari Suva Payaswanta Uttaram Devam Devatra Surya Magnayam Magnamam Jyotirupam Jyotirutamam. And so here this mantra, Adhyaya 38, page 485, on this Yajurveda by R.T.H. Griffith and Ravi Prakash Arya, is saying, looking upon the loftier lights above the darkness, we have come to Surya, God among the gods, the light that is most excellent. Right? So Yajurveda is telling us that Surya Bhagavan, we say Surya, God. He is God amongst all other aspects of God. God among other aspects of God is Surya. Therefore, one of the option or aspect of God is to worship God as sun, the source of light, or worship God as light. And so, as light, we have the diya, always in our altar, we have the diya, and we worship God as light. We worship God as fire. We worship God as the earth. Let me see. And so again, in the Yajurveda Samhita, Adhyaya, I come to Adhyaya 25. Adhyaya 25. And this is Mantra 15. Mantra, let me see, 17, sorry. Mantra 17. Mantra 17, Adhyaya 25, Yajurveda Samhita. It is saying, Tatro vato mayobhu vatu bejatam tanmata pritavi tatpita jahu. That is half of the mantra. So what it is saying, may the wind waft to us that pleasant medicine. May earth, our mother, give it, and our father heaven, and our Father heaven. So let me read back that. May the wind waft to us the pleasant medicine. May earth our mother. Right? It is said, Tan mata prithvi tat pitya jau. And so our Father, heaven. Heaven is our Father, and earth is our mother. That is why the song is a Vedic song. Dharti mere mata pita asaman. We all know that song. That song is a true song. It's a Vedic song. The Yajurveda is telling us that earth is our mother, heaven is our father. Therefore, we can worship that aspect of God as earth. And another aspect as water. Another aspect of water. And so, Rig Veda, let's see what I have here. What does the Rig Veda tells us? Rig Vedas, Mandal 1, Sukta 23. Right, same author, Wilson. No, sorry, this is H. Wilson, and also Ravi Prakash Arya, K.L. Joshi. And so this Mandal 1, Sukta 23, Mantra 247 is telling us, Apo Devi Rupa Hi Yave Yatra Gao Pivati Naha Sindubhyaha Kartvam Havi. And so Rig Vedas tell us, we invoke the divine waters in which our cattle drink. Offer oblation to that water. All right, it is telling us that we invoke the divine water. We invoke divinity in water. Water is sacred. That is why make an offering. Offer oblation in the name of water. Offer oblation to water. And there is a lot of mantra here that is said that water is divine, water is sacred, water comes from God, water has the power of God, water has the divinity of God, and so we can see God in water. And so any of his forces, we can worship the God through the forces. And so the third I have aspect of worship. The third I have is worship God through a medium or through a form. Worship God through a form or through a medium. So here we can worship God through a bodily form, through a bodily aspect, as our Purana tells us that God manifests. We have God, and we have seen here from the unmanifested, we have the manifested form. All right, Vedas tell us in one of my previous kata, Bahurupa, Vedas tells us God is full of forms, abundance of forms. So we can offer God, worship God through the formless or through one of his forms. Through forms. We can do forms, worship. So those are three aspects of worship I have here. Worship of God as Om, the unmanifested aspect. Worship God through the forces of creation or nature, which is like the sun. See God as light, see God as sun, see God in the fire, Agni Devta, the earth, water. And worship God through a form, worship God through a medium. Now, the different methods of worship. So we have different methods, we have different aspects, and we have different method of worship. There is no one way to worship God. There is no one way to build love to God. There is no one way to serve God. The same way, we all serve our parents differently. We all have different options, different opinion. Our parents have different likes and dislikes, and we too have different likes and dislikes. And so we all take care and serve our parents differently. And so different method of worship is three main method: Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. So we can use the method of Gyan Yoga. Gyan Yoga is meditation. We meditate. That is the higher aspect for the trained mind, for the mind that can focus. So meditation on Om or light, an aspect of creation or form of God, we can meditate on that. We sit. I don't know how long you can sit for, but if I sit on meditation, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes, I'm not like the saint and the sages. The saint and the sages, they does long hours of meditation. They can meditate. But for family oriented, we sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes. We have to start to move. We feel our foot get junjani, and we have to turn and twist. So that is why Bhagwan Krishna say that it is harder for the family-oriented person to sit in meditation. It is hard on that person to meditate. So meditation, we meditate on this Om, is a symbol again. Remember, the Om is a symbol. It's a medium that we fix in our mind. We see that mind and we meditate. What is meditation? Meditation is focusing of the mind. Meditation is to get the mind a single pointedness, meaning having the mind fixed onto one object. Your mind has to fix on something. That is meditation. Once the mind wavered, then your meditation is not there. Meditation has broken. And so to meditate on Om is a symbol. We fix the symbol at the center of the forehead. We see that Om, we envision that Om there, and we sit in meditation and only see that Om. Or we can meditate on light. And I know when I was a teenager, I think I was with the Raj Yogi group for a short while. And I know they meditate on light. What they do, they light a deer and they place it in front at their eye level. Eye level, they have a lighted deer there, and they turn the other lights off, and so that the deer light to radiate. And they focus on that light and meditate, focus on that light. And when they close their eyes, they can see that light within the center of the forehead. They can see that light within the center of the forehead, and they sit there still, reflecting and seeing that light, and they chant silent prayers. And so that is meditation on light. Or we can meditate on an aspect of creation or a form of God. We can meditate on an aspect. So the aspect of the sun, we can sit and reflect, and in our mind, we see the rising sun. We see that light of the sun, the rising beautiful sun. We can meditate on that beautiful scenery. Many saints, they sit by the riverside and they meditate. They look at the white span of the ocean and the river, that calm water, and they bring that calmness and coolness and that positive energy into their mind, and they fix their mind on that ocean, on that water, and they meditate. You can on the moon, you can bring into the moon, you can bring into the flower, into your thought, and reflect on that flower, and see that flower only in your thought. Something for the mind to hold on, because the mind needs something concrete to hold on. The mind, if you tell someone to meditate, and the person say, what to meditate on? And if we say God is formless, then what do you meditate on? Something formless? What is formless? That is why we give it a symbol, Om, or we give it other forces of creation that we can focus our mind on and do meditation on a beautiful plant, a flower, a pond, anything that enchant your mind, dharmic and righteous, and give positive calmness to your mind. You bring that to your attention and focus it. It is bringing an external image internally. It is bringing an object externally, internally. Or we can also meditate on a form of God. we meditate using that murti, or you call it an image, and you bring that image internally. That is one of the reasons why we use that medium, so that we gaze at the murti, Krishna Murti, Shri Ram Murti, Bhagwan Shiva Murti, that form of God, we gaze on it, and then when we close our eyes, then we can see the Lord within our heart or at the center of the forehead and keep it there and keep focused. That is meditation. Sit silent and calm. Either flat on the ground, on a chair. You can lay down and meditate too, no problem, depend upon our health issues. But the best way we know is to sit Sukhasana, Padmasana. But because we are not practicing, we can sit on a chair anywhere. But the mind is the important aspect. So that first aspect, a method of worship, is Gyan Yoga. That is called Gyan Yoga, meditation. And so the second is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti is to bring love, to melt your heart into love and devotion to the Lord. That's what Bhakti Yoga means. And Bhakti is being talked about a lot in our Shastras. And in Bhakti Yoga, we can worship with or without a medium. With or without a medium, we can worship. So, with a medium, that is using a murti. Using a murti, we can do beautiful worship, like the puja that we do. Krishna puja, we do Om Pushpam Samarpayami. I offer to you, O Lord, a flower. You do that yourself. Invite a priest. Normally, we get accustomed to invite a priest and perform that puja to build love, to build bhakti. Bhakti yoga, to build love by performing this puja through a medium, through a form, through a murti. Use that murti to see God. And that is one of the method is Bhakti Yoga. Or we can do what is called Manas Puja. Manas Puja is using no ingredients, but yet to see Krishna in your heart, see Krishna, Bhagwan Shri Krishna or Ram or Shiva, and perform the puja. We must know to do physical puja first before we can attain to Manas Puja. So the same physical puja that we do, we wash the Lord's feet, we wipe his feet, we anoint the Lord's feet, we offer flower physically with our hands and our mind. Now we do it in our mind. We do beautiful. You practice it and you will find how beautiful it is. It brings more peace and calm and efficacy than the physical puja if we practice it. So what we do, Manas Puja, we sit down. No, we have all our ingredients in our mind. So what we do, we sit down, close our eyes, see the Lord. Whatever way we see the Lord, we see Om, or we see Ram and Shri Krishna, or we see the sun. And so in my mind, if I see the Om, I can wave a light and do arti on the Om. In my mind, I offer flower to the Om. If I see as Bhagwan Shri Krishna, I want to wash the feet. And so I use the mind, the power of the mind. That is why it's called Manas Puja, through the mind. And so in your mind, you mentally wash the Lord's feet with your mind. So you are doing it in your mind, wash the feet of the Lord, wipe his feet, seeing the Lord smiling, the Lord is feeling nice, and you make it up more realistically. And you feel, you use the power and the sense of touch, and I'm feeling the Lord lotus feet, and I wash that feet and feel beautiful, and wipe the feet. I put a beautiful mala. Flowers which I cannot get physically, I get it in my mind. Beautiful color, sweet scented flower. I make that mala in my mind and I offer it to the Lord. I offer arti, how beautiful in my mind. That is called Manas Puja. And so that is the method. Or we chant and we sing. Chanting and singing is a way of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, we just sit and we chant, either in front of the murti, without the murti. We can sit in an altar without no murti, or we can sit in an altar with murti. That is the option. So much our Dharma is flexible. It's not saying you have to get a murti. You can do without a murti. And we can sing and chant anywhere you are. And we chant at the beach. We chant anywhere in our mind while we are driving, in the train, in the bus. We sit and we see the Lord and we sit and we chant. And that is called Bhakti Yoga, to build love for the Lord, a emotion for the Lord, a relationship for the Lord. Build a relationship of a master-servant love, a father-child love, whatever love. Bhavna, 5 different bhavna, that is a different topic. And the third method of worship I have here is Karma Yoga. And we all heard about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is service to God through His creation. Service of God through His creation, 100% non-attached. So Karma Yoga, Bhagwan Shri Krishna talk about this in Bhagavad Gita, that perform your duty without looking forward for the fruits of the action. So we serve God through humanity or through His creation. We serve His God through people, respect, love people, offer service to people, help people without any looking forward for the fruits of attachment, any fruits for reward. We don't want any reward, but to do selfless service to God creation, not only to humanity, but to animals, birds, whatever it is. We do service, seeing God in His creation, serving creation, serving God through His creation is called Karma Yoga. And by doing selfless action to people, to humanity, to His creation, then that is called Karma Yoga, which will take us to Bhagwan. Of course, Sanatana Dharma is to live by the code and conducts. We don't expect to do all this and don't live with the code and conducts and ethics of life to be dishonest and then perform puja or prayers or meditation. Of course, we have to go with this Sanatana Dharma, code and conducts and ethics of life. We have to live of honesty, truthfulness, no ego, no abhiman, no pride, respect. So once these are the building block, and then after performing and following those rules and regulation, then we perform any worship through any one of these methods. It surely, Bhagwan Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, that taking any of these pathway here, sticking to any of these pathways will lead us to Him. All of the pathways of the different method, every aspect and every method here lead us to God. They all bear the same result. So, in closing remarks, I will like to say that it is flexible. Sanatana Dharma is simple and it can be complex. Let us don't make it complex. Let us make it simple because it is simple. See it with a simple mind. See it with an open mind. And it is flexible. Sanatana Dharma is very, very flexible. I find it is the most flexible. We want to worship God by all these different ways, any one of the way. Just sit and chant His name. And that is Bhakti Yoga. Just sit and chant His name. In Ramayana it is said in this age, chanting the name of God is very beneficial. So what is so hard in sit and chant? Nothing is hard. So let us don't make anyone confuse our mind. Let us take it straightforward. It is flexible. Whatever way you want, if you desire a priest to come and perform your function, all the time the judgment, the person tell the priest, I want to do this and this and this. I have never tell, and I know many of our pundits never tell a judgment, oh, you have to pray this way. You have to do it this way. Right? It's all flexible. So again, my apology if I use any word in a wrong context. I do not mean it. I mean it to send out good knowledge here about Sanatana Dharma. any mistake, any error, I ask a humble and simple apology. And I thank each and every one of you to view and to listen. And if you can share and you find it makes some sense, pass it on for especially the young generation to understand. Because nowadays, many of our young generation say Sanatana Dharma is confusing. It's not confusing. Simple. Let us make it simple to them. All right. And so my humble Sitaram to each and every one of you. God blessings to each and every one of you. May sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavit. May God blessing be with each and every one of you again. Thank you and Sitaram. Om Shanti, 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 Om.